Pop Culture Pastor.
So, a BJ, are you? You're a dad.
Yep.
Do you ever notice when you're around the house that you do things that you would have considered dad behavior that you, as a young person, recognize I would never do that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like, I'll just put you. Let's run through a little example here. I was at home. I come home from work. And I put my coat on the rack, hang my hat up, my keys, and I'm walking through the house saying hello to everyone. And I go upstairs to change, and I'm walking through. And at some point, I realize every light in the house is on.
That was the exact one I was thinking too.
And I'm like, why are all these lights on?
I know.
You're not even up here, and every light in the upstairs is on.
Oh man, yeah.
And then I've become like this dad, like in quotation marks, dad behavior, right?
Yeah.
The guy who's like, would you shut off the lights when you're not here? Because in my head, I'm like, well, that's money we're spending that we don't need to spend. But also in my head, if I start thinking practically, I also say, well, Dave, calm down. It's probably very microscopic.
Right. Yeah.
So
but it's one of those things you never think of until you're a dad. You're like,
no. And then, and when you are a dad, it's just like, that light's on. Don't touch the thermostat.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Nobody touches the thermostat but me.
Yeah.
And so there's this kind of thing that I do. Well, the other big one is when my kids microwave food and then leave it in the microwave.
Oh, yeah.
Like they forget about it.
Oh, really?
And I'm just like, oh, you're just going to come back and re-microwave that, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like, pay attention to what you're doing.
Yeah, your kids are a little older than mine. I haven't got into that realm yet, but I think some of it is touching my stuff. Like, I know you still do that as a kid, but it's like, I don't know. Drives me nuts when they touch my stuff. And I'm like,
you have stuff?
I
don't even have space.
I have things I apparently share.
My kids co-opted my iPad some time ago.
Oh yeah, no, I don't have an iPad for sure. And even in all my streaming, I was saying this earlier when I was on like Netflix and stuff, all of that is, instead of just clicking on their account, they just get on mine and they're like, well, I'll watch Bluey. I'll watch this. I'm like, come on, people.
I'm not a total dad. Like I do keep it much cooler in the winter than I think my kids would like. But in the summer, I'm not the dad who like puts the thermostat on 80.
Oh, really?
Like I like it cool. I like being cool. Yeah. And I don't mind being cooler. So I leave the heater pretty low. But like, some dads would have been like, we're trying to not run any sort of environmental controls.
Well, the age of my kids, I'm like, windows up. You guys are already running around in your underwear. I'm not turning the AC on, all right?
It hurts in Kansas. You're from Oklahoma originally. And it hurts there too.
Oh, yeah,
that we don't really have spring and fall.
No.
No.
We've got like 1 week that's like awesome.
Yeah.
And that's it.
We usually have that 1 week where a 1 week spring and a 1 week fall. Otherwise, it goes straight from stinking cold to ridiculously hot.
Oh, man.
And it's the worst. I have dreams. I have dreams, BJ, of moving to North Dakota someday.
Oh, yeah.
But just for, 9 months of the year.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, I'm bringing all this up because I found an article that tells you exactly what things in your home, what appliances you're spending the most for.
Oh, really?
Electricity wise. Normally that would be boring, but in the
as a
dad
dad, that sounds
conversation,
good, yeah.
this is something I want to check out. So we're going to talk about that this hour. What appliances in our home are actually using the most electricity, most energy? What are we paying the most for? This is very interesting stuff.
It is. I got an example though about being an adult. I just thought of it.
Oh, BJ's leading off this.
I know. I'm sorry. It just came to my head. So, and it's for my wife. She'll think this is funny though. My wife, as an adult, she gets super excited when I'm like, so I found a bunch of these at the church, storage containers and boxes, like totes, and I bring them home. She's like, sweet, you got a bunch of those. So I'm like, yeah, you're old.
Yeah, when you're old when you get excited about totes.
I know, right?
Also, same. Yeah.
Like,
ooh, totes.
Right. We've got boxes to put crap in.
Oh, yeah. All my stuff's in totes.
Oh, yeah. I know,
Listen, my basement is there are probably 10 boxes in my basement loaded with cool stuff like to go on walls that I have no walls to put up.
Yeah.
Like every square inch of my home is covered in everyone else's stuff.
Right.
And I have all this cool stuff that I could put up.
Yeah.
But just I don't have I need a man cave.
You should build one.
That's the big secret. Dudes just want man caves. Dads just want man caves so they can have a place to put their stuff. That's it.
Yeah. I bring that up. And then have you heard of she sheds?
Yeah.
Yeah, then my wife brings that up. I'm like, so we're going to have 3 houses right now. Like, one big one, 2 small houses. All
right. So we were talking about what appliances cost the most money. Because as a dad, we do the thing where we turn off all the lights after everyone leaves them on. And there's all these dadisms for, trying to save money. So this article from moneytransfers.com is going to tell us exactly what we spend the most money on.
Okay.
Unsurprisingly, the biggest electricity thief in your home are air conditioning units, costing up to $1,062 per year on the assumption they're switched on for 8 hours a day. By the way, that number's got to be way higher. That's like 1 month.
Yeah.
Now it's like, so utility bills skyrocketed this past year. And boy, I mean, when I say skyrocketed, we would get our bills this summer, I almost wanted to cry.
Oh yeah.
Because we were turning ours up too. We didn't run it as cool as we normally like to run it, but still, residents of the Midwest could benefit from an almost $200 reduction in their energy bill running their air conditioner for the same amount of time as those in the West. Yeah, but they got that ocean air, man.
They're in the West.
Like, listen, I try to tell people this because I've been in Arizona, BJ, on a 120-degree day. And so we visited friends there and we went swimming. We were in the pool. But when you're, like we were in the shade, we'd sit under like a chair with the umbrella. Yeah. And we sat outside the pool for a while. And then at the end of the day, they were like, woo, that was a hot one. And they're like, oh yeah, it was hot outside. And they're like, no, really, it was 120 degrees today. And I didn't believe them. I was just what? No, couldn't have been 120. And they were like, no, they showed me. Well, the difference is like in the shade, it's like 70.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I realized that like, oh yeah, when you're in Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas, where it's like 100% humidity and 95 degrees, it feels way worse.
They got that dry heat out there.
Yeah. There's no escape from the heat here.
No.
You can't get in the shade and make it any better.
No.
And you're breathing solid air. It's like really a solid.
Yeah. When you walk out in the morning and have to swim through to your car because it's so humid outside. It's
Florida
ridiculous.
People know what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so the air conditioner, like in the Arizona, you can have a 120-degree day and then at night open your windows.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which I would give anything for that. Mm-hmm. But we can't really do that here.
No.
This is the part that's going to hurt, BJ. So our dadisms, where we want all the lights shut off, LED light bulbs are actually the cheapest to run. LED light bulbs cost an average of 29 cents per month to run, assuming lights are on for 4 hours a day. 29 cents a month. Well, okay. So I guess we can stop being, if you use LED bulbs, which I think most people do now. Yeah, I think we can stop being so militant on the turn off the lights. Yeah, right. Yeah. And I try to. Yeah. I realize it's one of those dad things that doesn't make as much sense now, but LED lights may be a more expensive upfront cost. They cost more in the store. Yeah. But they produce light up to 90% more efficiently than incandescent light bulbs, making them a clear choice for anyone looking to save money on energy costs. And I believe they last longer too, if I'm not mistaken.
They say that, but I don't know if it's true.
I don't know either, but and then there's the whole thing about disposal. You're not supposed to throw those away, right? Am I right?
Don't tell me that. I want to know, not know.
Okay. Are we not bringing that up?
No, I don't want to know.
Because if you know, then you're openly sinning.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I just want to chunk those guys.
You might be wondering, BJ, well, how did remote work affect all this for COVID? The
That's
pandemic?
true.
Between 2019 and 2021, the number of people working from home in the U.S. tripled from around 9 million to 27 million.
Dang.
A figure that is likely to have increased over 2022 as more and more Americans embrace the flexibility of remote work. So one factor you may need to consider for this year, 2023, is that the effect the increase in numbers of people working from home may have on energy bills. So the reason utilities went up was it's not just gas prices going up,
right.
Oil, you know what I'm saying? Like, so the coal industry and all that, it's not just the resources that we use in supplying energy. It's also the there's a finite amount of energy that it produces. And so when there are more people at home using appliances, so normally, like if you don't have a huge family, you would go to work and there's no one in your house. You don't have to run anything.
Yeah.
But if you're working from home, all of a sudden your workplace is still going to be running the same way, even if there's less people there. And so now you've got like this whole idea where, the
more demand
people,
went higher.
So the finite thing is taking a bigger dent. A laptop being on charge for 5 hours a day, every day, uses between $1.06 and $1.22 a month. So if you have to charge your laptop every day because you work on it, that's costing money. And that doesn't sound like it's a significant amount on its own, but when you add in additional charge time for recreational use, additional energy use for cooking from home, having lights on in your house longer, switching the heating on during the day, and then you multiply that by a few 100 million.
Yeah, right.
All of a sudden, you're seeing the reason why maybe in an indirect way, all our utility bills went up. It wasn't just resources. It was we were using more of the finite amount we had of the energy created, if that makes sense.
So should we switch the dad thing to, instead of light bulbs, to like unplug that? Like I'm thinking right now, my son's got his switch on the charger and it's been on there forever.
And in all honesty, do we try, is the new dad thing?
That's what,
The new dad thing may not be, why are all these lights on? Turn the lights off when you're not using them. It's, hey, I'm going to say that after dinner, there are no, give them half an hour after dinner, but then say at 7:30, no more screens.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you don't charge them.
Yeah. No
when you
charging,
leave in the morning,
you
can charge, you can plug them in.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But no charging them, and maybe we work it into a screens thing. Because at some point, I've thought about this one a lot, BJ, because it's just a new landscape now with our screens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I know 10 years ago when smartphones were first becoming the thing, a bunch of us were all like, our kids aren't getting phones until they're 18, until they can afford them themselves. And then we live life and understand that's probably not realistic.
Right.
Also, it's probably not a good idea because we want to teach them how to exist in the world that they're going to live in while they're still under our roof. Right. So it doesn't make sense to deny them that and then send them out into the world and be like, oh, by the way, here's a screen.
Yeah, right.
Where you can get anything you want on it.
You got to teach responsibility.
Right. So I've been thinking a lot about how can we build a culture that isn't so dependent on them, but understanding that they are necessary.
Right. Yeah.
So I think about that a lot.
It's hard. It's hard to do. I mean, we have screen time at home for our kids too.
Yeah, when you come up with a solution, you let me know, right?
I will, yeah.
Because I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either.
Other than being like, yeah, you're just not on screens this time.
I was talking to a buddy about that the other day too, about one of my best friends I remember him from first grade, but we were talking about how weird it is when you go from a kid to a college kid to now a dad. And you start realizing as you become longer of a dad, you realize your parents didn't have a clue what they were doing because you don't have a clue what you're doing, right? So
there's really nothing more freeing than getting to the place where, I don't know what I was doing. And I realize now my parents didn't know what they were doing. Yeah. So you can forgive them for all the times you got mad at them.
Yeah, you really can. You can kind of understand it. Yeah.
That goes back to the old parenting rules. For some reason, people ask me because my kids are pretty well behaved when they're in public places.
Yeah.
Not at home.
No.
And I get a lot of this question of, how do you do it? How do you be a good dad? Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm not a good dad, first of all. Yeah. I make tons of mistakes, but the one thing I say to people is like, if your kids know you love them, like they're sure of it. You tell them you love them every day. You show them affection every day. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
You can make tons of mistakes because what does the Bible say?
Yeah.
Love covers a multitude of sins.
Right.
So I came across an article, Cody, that you sent it to me.
That's how I roll.
Yeah. And this person who wrote this article decided they were going to go back and eat all of these 90s treats and foods to see if they held up.
Okay.
Like to see if our memories of the stuff we liked back then are legit or if it's just nostalgia. Because sometimes our nostalgia will make us think that things were better than they were. Not gas station nachos. Those will always be legit.
That is always a 50-50 risk.
So yeah, you sent me this article and it's full of 90s things and what the author of the article thought. And one of them was cream savers. Do you remember cream savers?
I do.
Like this is that you pointed out that it's that weird like junction of old people bought this candy, but yet we still liked them as young people.
Yes. And like my grandparents bought it, and they also bought the Baskin Robbins chocolate mint ones.
Yeah.
And because like for some reason all elderly people have hard candies around.
It's a thing.
And like cream savers and the Baskin Robbins chocolate mints replaced the Werther's Originals and the nasty strawberry candy.
What were those? You'd get them every Halloween and you'd be like, is it the little strawberry candies? And then the whatever the chewy thing was with the orange and black wrappers that had no name.
I don't know what
I
they
think
were.
They were butterscotch, maybe.
I don't know how you find them.
Where do they come from? Oh, the strawberry candies, man. I forgot about those.
I did not.
Like, listen, you'd get home from Halloween trick-or-treating and you'd take your bucket of candy and about roughly, so half the candy was good. Reese's, the good stuff. Mm-hmm. Then roughly the other half of the candy was made up of 3 articles. The strawberry candies, the generic strawberry candies, the weird butterscotch chewy things that were in orange and black wrappers, and Tootsie Rolls. And those immediately went into the garbage. Trash. Absolute trash. And don't, I can hear people yelling like, I like Tootsie Rolls. No, false. Nobody likes Tootsie Rolls. You just eat them because it's all you got.
It is a last resort.
So cream savers were a big deal. They also tried pizza rolls, which what kind of life is this author reading that they hadn't eaten pizza rolls? That they had to go find these and be like, these are a relic of the 90s. Like, no, bro, I had them last night.
I feel like the commercialization of pizza rolls like was at its peak in the 90s.
Yeah, that's true. They don't do a lot of advertising.
Because now everyone knows that it's molten hot lava that like at first you can't taste, and then like 5 minutes later when you only have 3 left, you're like, oh, this is good.
Here's the conflict of pizza rolls that is universal. You are so looking forward to the pizza rolls that you want to eat them and you're so excited about them. But if you don't let those suckers sit on a plate for 20 minutes, listen, and you never do. You can't ever wait long enough.
No.
You bite into that first one and the molten lava pours out in your mouth and you're like, and you end up spitting the whole thing out, waiting another 10 minutes. And then it doesn't matter. They're always cold. By the time you do eat them, you're like, I just missed it. Just missed it.
It's a rarity to actually get them in that perfect temp.
There is somewhere out there is a gifted mathematician like Will Hunting level who has devised an equation of the perfect time to wait, to how long, the perfect time to eat a pizza roll out of the oven.
I will honestly say I'll keep eating when they're molten hot. And then occasionally you will get one that's like, oh my goodness, this is perfect. But then you've lost most of your taste receptors.
It definitely goes into that category of food with Captain Crunch. about the level of damage you're going to do to your mouth to enjoy it. And you don't even care. You're just like, nope, I'm still eating it.
YOLO.
Now, here's what I'm confused about. Did this person actually have to like go out on eBay and find like old packages of some of these things? Because some of these things they don't make anymore.
Like, I wouldn't eat them old.
Yeah, it's like a little scary. Because, okay, so he lists Dunkaroos.
Dunkaroos.
These were vanilla cookies with vanilla frosting with rainbow sprinkles. And you like dipped the cookie into the frosting.
Oh, so good.
And like, what's in that frosting though? There's a picture of it in their article here, and the frosting looks a little scary.
It's like the confetti frosting.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, the ingredients, like this dude's eating a pack of Dunkaroos that have been on a shelf for 20 years.
I think they still make Dunkaroos.
Do they still make them?
I think that they've rebranded it because now it has Betty Crocker as the maker, and I don't think it had it as Betty before.
Okay. They say that Dunkaroos are still elite, that they were blown away.
I am salivating.
But they said they've only seen them at 7-Elevens. So.
Well, I'm never going to get one.
Sobe? Do you remember Sobe tea?
Okay, so I never drink the tea. That's just brown water. My go-to Sobe is the strawberry daiquiri. Sobe.
Oh, you sinner.
There's no adult alcohol content to it.
It was just the flavor.
It's just the flavor. And, it's legit.
Sobe was the first drinks that I remember doing the hopping on the ginseng thing and all the weird little things you put in it for energy, right? That was the first drink I remember really doing that.
My favorite Mountain Dew outside of Code Red has the ginseng in it.
Really?
Voltage.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Sobe, I remember loving the Sobe energy drink. I would drink it a lot. And the Sobe Power, because I really thought it was helping me build muscle. It probably wasn't. Do you remember Fruit Gushers?
Yeah.
These were like fruit snacks, but then they had some kind of juice in the middle.
So if they melt, you got a mess. I'll let you know that.
And these are allegedly favorites from the 90s. And the next one is they listed are Nutri-Grain bars. And I'm like, come on.
Oh, those
Nobody
are
liked
good.
those. Oh, no, they're not.
Are good.
Nutri-Grain bars were what your mom would bring home as your snack. And you'd be like, oh, come on. Bring home a real snack.
That was a breakfast item for me.
Yeah.
Besides Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, if you didn't have Pop-Tarts, Nutri-Grain was like the desperate breakfast Pop-Tart replacement.
Like some flavors were really strong and good, but then there were some I'm like, I don't need that.
Yeah, I'm not here for the Nutri-Bars. This presenter gave it a 70 out of 100 though. Or no, it's a 70 out of 90. They're rating everything out of 90 because the 90s.
Ayo.
Super clever. Now, Cody, I was never a fan of the fruit roll-ups. Were you a fan of the fruit roll-ups?
I mean, I'd eat them, but we did not buy them growing up, so it would only be whenever I was at a friend's house.
Right? It seemed like the only people that had fruit roll-ups at lunch, they brought their sack lunch, were like the rich kids.
Rich!
Because fruit roll-ups, they were almost kind of like in my middle school cafeteria. Fruit roll-ups were like almost a status symbol.
It's a delicacy.
And here's the real secret. They were like a status thing. And they pretended they were good, but they weren't. Because mostly you would just play with them.
Yes.
You'd like unroll it and then put it on your face.
So when I get to middle school, they start having like shapes that you can pull out of them. Like there's actual pre-cut lines within the roll-up itself. And so then you can like stick them on your face. Like, oh, here's a little smiley face.
They knew what they were good for, what kids wanted them for.
Yeah.
We're sticking this on our face. It says something about your food product if the highlight is I'm not really interested in eating your food product. I just want to play with it. Fruit roll-ups, I mean, I'm not dissing them. They made a lot of money on those. Capri Suns. You remember those?
So the coolest thing about Capri Suns were the commercials, because people would turn into Capri Sun liquid. And there was a show on Nickelodeon called The Secret World of Alex Mack, and she would turn into Capri Sun liquid.
So weird.
Although they never said it was Capri Sun liquid, but that's what it looked like. And so for years, when I described The Secret World of Alex Mack, I would describe it as this girl had powers where she could turn into Capri Sun liquid.
Capri Sun is actually kind of genius. It's genius marketing because they make kids feel like that's a treat. They're like, oh, we're getting Capri Suns far out, man. That's a big deal. We're getting treated.
Yeah.
If you squeezed every pouch of a Capri Sun into a glass, like the entire box of Capri Suns, that glass would be what, a third full? What is there, like an ounce and a half of juice in each of those Capri Sun packets? That's what it feels like.
But then after you're done, you can blow back up the packet and make it look like it's completely full.
What does that do?
Then you can trick people and be like, oh, you want to drink of my Capri Sun? Psych, there's nothing there.
That's harsh. That also, I'm pretty sure that happened to me a couple times.
You're welcome.
Hubba Bubba. The bubble gum that we grew up with, that is kind of legendary and nostalgic. Because, I remember getting Hubba Bubba. You remember Fruit Stripe?
Fruit Stripe was where it was at when I was a kid.
Well, it was. We all wanted Fruit Stripe, but you'd go through an entire pack in a day because you get 3 chews into a Fruit Stripe and the flavor's gone.
First 2 of the 3 chews are magical.
They were very magical.
Third, you're like, oh no. And then thereon, you're like, this is bad and it's dissolving in my mouth.
We would be remiss if we also didn't mention Hubba Bubba bubble tape.
Yes.
The bubblegum bubble tape, which was roughly the same quality as the concrete sticks you'd get in baseball card packs. You had to be really desperate to eat the gum that came in the baseball card packs. You would break teeth on those.
Did you ever have the kid cuisine?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so whenever I go to my grandparents' house, they had the kid cuisines.
Of course they did.
And like some of the sides were gross. And I remember as a kid thinking the pudding gets nasty because it warms up. But the brownie was delicious. And as an adult, I had one like right out of college because someone actually had them. They're like, let's do this for nostalgia's sake. Oh, it was bad. It was so bad.
Like kids today, young people today would need an explanation. So back in the day before microwaves, we had these things called TV dinners.
Mm-hmm.
And they were called TV dinners because you bake them in the oven and they were like an entire meal on a tray. There'd be like the main protein, and then it's a couple side things and usually a dessert item. And you cooked them all together. You baked it in the oven. And then they sold these TV trays. It was made for people to eat in front of the TV, which, we'll save the debate on whether that's healthy or not. But that was the thing. They were called TV dinners. And so kid cuisine is sort of like the kid version as that's waning.
Mm-hmm.
As that is going out the wayside because of the microwave, the invention of the microwave. And I think, were these microwavable?
They were microwavable. They usually came with like a sticker or something or a coloring page. They came with stuff for kids. And then you got like this nasty chicken nugget with like mac and cheese and gross corn. And then it was either pudding or it was the brownie.
So the TV dinner, basically kid cuisine in this case, was basically a bunch of an entire meal. You had the main course, you had the side, the dessert, and it was all on one little tray, which was way too small. I would need to eat like 5 TV dinners to be full. But they still have things like that in the frozen food aisle. Not very many, and they don't call them TV dinners anymore. But that's the way I think of them.
It was a TV dinner back then.
It was totally that. Okay, real talk though. Here's a real question. This will cement you of whether you're my best friend or whether we're mortal enemies. SpaghettiOs, terrible or cuisine?
Okay, so my wife and I heavily differ on this.
Mine too. My wife and I too.
Leah, it's cuisine. Me, it's molten trash that can just be dumped right out.
Okay, I have a theory on this. Depending on it's totally hinges on the way you grew up.
Mm-hmm.
I think, if you had if you came from the more nuclear family background where your mom cooked a lot of meals, I think you're more likely to think of SpaghettiOs as trash.
They are trash.
No, they are not. SpaghettiOs got me through a night, Cody. Because I think if you came from something that wasn't the standard nuclear family, or your mom worked, and that therefore didn't make as many meals just because of circumstances, you probably think SpaghettiOs were amazing.
At my household, it was, you make yourself a ham sandwich or a peanut butter and jelly.
Not bologna?
I wasn't a huge bologna fan, so
I actually think SpaghettiOs are amazing. I just do. Lunchables came out in the 90s. That was the time they really came out, and there was a kind of a craze around them.
Yeah, I mean, I had them in my lunch because I'd bring them to school on the days that I wasn't going to eat the nastiness the school was serving. They're not bad, but I would never go out of my way to eat one.
Yeah, the weird thing was for me, I never really got it because I'm just like, man, it's like a meat and cheese tray from a party. Why wouldn't you just get meat and cheese and cut it up yourself?
Because it is already packaged and it comes with a mini size candy bar.
Okay, now I will say, as a parent, my 4-year-old loves Lunchables. Asks for them every time we go to Walmart, every time we go to the grocery store. Can I get a Lunchable? And when you look at the price tag, they're about for the medium package with the dessert, they're $2. And it's just well, I'd spend more going out anywhere. Why not? Get him a treat. And he thinks it's a treat. So it's $2. I'm like, that's money well spent right there. But yeah, I don't remember Lunchables being all that. Warheads, a lot of candy.
Warheads were a huge thing because it's get the most sour one and see how long you can last without making a face.
Now, the next one on his list, this is the one that I will argue to the death about.
Okay.
Juice barrels. Do you remember these?
Delicious.
Yeah, they were the generic little barrels, plastic barrels with the metal tin cover on top that had some sort of Kool-Aid juice. And these by the way, they were super cheap.
Oh yeah.
They were way cheaper than other things. And for my money, way better than Capri Suns.
Oh yeah.
This person says Capri Suns was top tier and these aren't. And I'm just no, you got it wrong. The juice barrels, I'll take the 10-cent juice barrels all day over the Capri Suns.
Cost and taste wise.
Ring pops, push-ups, all these sweet things we thought we liked.
Push-ups I still appreciate.
And then this person puts Werther's Originals, which nobody liked those except for your grandpa.
Rich old people.
No, not even rich old people, because the only people I ever remember having were the Originals were people over 70 years of age, and it was a dude, and he had them in his chest pocket.
Oh, yeah.
Always. Here, little Sonny, would you like a candy? Yes, I would like a candy. Oh, it's Werther's. I got tricked.
So there's a movie with Zach Galifianakis and Emma Roberts and another kid that I can't remember what his name is. And they're in a state mental hospital, and Zach Galifianakis goes on about this rant about being an elitist, and he's with your Werther's Originals and your Reese's Pieces.
I loved Reese's Pieces.
And so I whenever anyone says Werther's Originals, I now immediately go to it's an elitist candy, even though it's not.
Side note, you are automatically in my mind a real one. if you know where Reese's Pieces, the origin of that came from.
E.T.?
That's absolutely E.T. Reese's Pieces were kind of designed, and it's like it's a brilliant, one of the first brilliant pieces of marketing in a movie that I can remember, because it's a gimmick in the movie that E.T. likes the Reese's Pieces, and that's when they came out. Was when that movie came out. So good stuff right there. Little pop culture knowledge for you. Hey, we loved hanging out with you today. We're well beyond out of time.
We are, and the name of that movie, by the way, it's kind of a funny story.
Oh, the one was Zach Galifianakis?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you can check that out if you want. Hey, we got to go. Should Jesus Delay is coming. We will be back tomorrow at noon. God willing, you'll be here as well.
God willing.
Thank you so much for listening. We love you guys. We'll see you soon. Hey everybody, Dave here. What you have just listened to are bits and pieces of our radio show. We have a radio show on KFEX Firescape Radio located in Chanute, Kansas. You can hear that show from noon to 4 every weekday. So if you want to tune into that, you can go to www.kfex931.com, or you can search KFEX in your app store on your smartphone and find their totally free app there. If you're a fan of Christian music, you might like to listen to our live show when you're at work, or if you're a stay-at-home mom and you like music in the house, you may love to listen to that during the day. So give it a try. We would also direct you to our podcast, Pop Culture Pastor. That's probably why you're listening anyways to this version of what we do. As always, subscribe to the podcast, follow us on our social medias on Facebook and Twitter. It helps us out when you share it, when you review and rate us on our podcast homes. And of course, follow us on social media and share our stuff there. So thank you so much for listening. We love all of you guys so much. We have such a great community of listeners, and we'll see you when the regular pod drops on Friday.